Today is the day of my talk. I've been taking a little bit of time off, so I haven't done a talk in a little bit. Well, I guess since the summit. And I had pitched this talk to Quinnipiac, and then they hired me for it, which is really cool. So I'm gonna go get my hair makeup done. I have these little paleo cupcake muffin things by Simple Mills. A muffin.
Good morning, people. It's a new day, a new beginning, and my affirmation for the day is stay calm and think. And if you stay calm and think, you may be able to figure something out. It's far better to stay calm and think than react in the moment.
Cheers. After this, I speak at USC. But today I'm presenting two talks, and I wanted to try a little bit of a different format because I thought that it was cool to kind of switch it up a bit. So I'm presenting one talk to a bigger group, and then I'm presenting I think I just said presenting one talk to a bigger group, and then one talk to a smaller group. And the smaller group apparently is mostly like women entrepreneurs. So I put out a little questionnaire that I just made. Look, it's got the logo on it, which is so cute. It's 2 pages. So I'll ask you guys some of these questions because I think it's really good to think about these questions during your regular day-to-day life.
So this
Finished getting my hair and makeup done. It's really cute. It's all sunny. It's freezing outside. So I got it done at Blow Dry Bar, which is in West Hartford, which is the place that I always go to that I love. And now I'm wearing my winter jacket because it's freezing out here. But I'm getting excited for these talks. I actually really now like presenting a lot more than I used to because I used to get so much anxiety about it. So today I'm wearing this whole outfit from anthropology, but I realized that my whole skirts are wrinkled. And then I went outside, I put some pictures in here with this photographer that I shot with that I found in Connecticut, and she was so sweet, and so we did a bunch of cool outfit pictures because most of like my team, like Alexis and stuff, are in LA, and I didn't think that this was worth them coming out for the day, but it's cool. So when I do things like these, because depending on the city that I'm in, I get to meet so many different people. So I'll show you guys the full outfit, and then when I get to the school, I will show you the inside and stuff, and we'll be speaking in 17 minutes. Wow. Connecticut is just so beautiful. Just got to the campus. It's so windy out here, but this is it. It says Center for Communications and Engineering. It's like 11:25. My first talk's at 12. I only have 10 fingers. So I'm gonna head in there and I do a little bit of setup and preparation, and then the talk's pretty straightforward. So wish me luck.
This is Alexa Curtis, and she was born and raised in Mansfield, Connecticut, so not too far from here. Alexa knew she was different and she didn't fit into the normal social mold. In 2011, at just 12 years old, she started a fashion blog, A Life in the Fashion Lane. As she evolved and grew older, her blog naturally shifted from fashion to discussing sensitive topics that teens and young adults face every day. A Life in the Fashion Lane was changed to Life Unfiltered with Alexa Curtis and became a lifestyle website and podcast for teens and parents discussing topics such as social media and mental health. Not only did Curtis turn her fashion blog into a full-time lifestyle platform for teens, through cold pitching, she was able to get sponsored by brands like British Airways, T-Mobile, Land's End, and more. I actually just spoke with her mother that was accompanying her here today, and she told me a whole lot more about how ambitious Alexa has been and how much she has accomplished in the short amount of time that she's been working on this. So I think Alexa will tell you more, but I'm very impressed. In October 2018, Curtis spoke alongside Amal Clooney and Serena Williams at Penn Women, and in September 2018, Curtis added host to her arsenal as she launched her own radio show on Radio Disney called Fearless Every Day with Alexa Curtis. Fearless Every Day is the first of its kind and is breaking new ground for the Radio Disney brand. Alexa interviews various guests who share their journey of overcoming obstacles, challenges, and chasing their dreams. Please welcome Alexa Curtis.
I'm just going to grab something that I keep track of the time that's in my bag. Hold on. if you have questions throughout, feel free to ask, but if not, then I'll usually leave like 10 or 15 minutes at the end for a Q&A. So my name's Alexa Curtis, and that was a phenomenal introduction, so thank you. But back in 2011, I started a blog because I never fit in. I came from no money, no connections, and just really never felt secure with myself. So basically, I started a blog when I was 12, almost 13, and then from about 12 to 14, just consistently started writing. Back in the days when social media wasn't even a thing. So then I just kept writing a blog, and then when I was 14, I made a LinkedIn page and ended up getting a few different requests for people who wanted to pay me to do their social media. So I started making some side money when I was in high school, and then from 14 to 16 started finding new brands online and reaching out, and got myself invited to New York Fashion Week and then London Fashion Week, and had literally no money, like nobody that I knew even in the industry, but I just really wasn't quite good at anything besides English. So I managed to get myself invited to some of these really big shows, and then when I was 16, I got a phone call the day that I dropped out of regular public high school and transferred to online school, primarily because I still thought I was going to go to college, but I just wasn't succeeding in my classes while trying to blog. And I got a phone call from Rachel Ray, and they had found my blog and wanted me to go on the show. So basically, over the past, now I'm 21, X amount of years, have built this platform based around getting out of your comfort zone, following your dreams, and kind of talking all about entrepreneurship and rejection and whatnot. So that's me. When I started, I obviously was like, I looked cute there, but I really kind of was not secure with myself. I was so young, and I feel like when you're young, even in college and up until your mid-20s, it's like quite common to still be insecure. But just to raise hands, how many of you guys are trying to be entrepreneurs, or like most of you? Okay, do you all have like ideas? Certain ones? Oh, okay, and are any of them like have come to life, or just ideas so far? Or wanting to be, like you just you want to be one? Yeah? Alright, that's a good start. All you need is one idea. All I had was that one idea, which was my website, and I really never gave up on that. So I'm just going to kind of take you guys through, I think, the journey of when you first know you want to be an entrepreneur, to when you have the idea, to when the idea comes to kind of fruition, and then when you can kind of create that idea and know what you want to do with it. But there's a few things that I think are really overlooked when it comes to entrepreneurship. Obviously, you guys are in college, so it's very difficult when you're in college and you're trying to build a brand or become an entrepreneur, because there's so many other factors, like needing to make a living while creating that company. So that's a huge thing that I know kind of deters people from entrepreneurship. But I like my story to be one as an example. Is obviously I started when I was 12. I was still living at home. I moved out when I was 17 and financially stable. But at that time, I didn't go into this for any money or fame or anything. I really went into it because I loved writing. So if you have that one idea, if you have that kind of itch to create your own brand or your own company, that's all that matters. You can't get caught up in all the noise that will come as you or your company grows. So two things that I think are very important, and obviously this might sound a little cliche, but a lot of entrepreneurs talk about, and you guys have probably heard people like Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, like show of hands, do you guys know who he is? Yeah, some of you, and they're always kind of promoting that word hustle, like it's so important to always be working, always be hustling, and I think that there's a sense of that that's important, but it's also really important to remember that to be an entrepreneur and do so many different things, that you have to be mentally prepared all the time. So that's why talking a lot about happiness and how important that is, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is crucial in your success with whatever you want to do. So obviously making sure that you don't overlook that as you get more in the groove with whatever idea that you have, because sometimes it's so important and you want to just kind of keep working all the time, but there's no balance there if you do that. And then obviously you guys are in school, so kind of what resources does your school offer you that you can use to be an entrepreneur? So I speak at a lot of different colleges. I spoke at Fordham a few weeks ago, and some colleges, especially like this one, seem to have a great program intact for entrepreneurship. So when I was growing up, and especially in middle and high school, I didn't really have any mentors. I still don't really have a mentor, but I know of so many successful, huge entrepreneurs that do have mentors, and that's crucial. So do you guys have any? Like any even teachers, like show of hands, that you kind of feel like you can confide in, or kind of? Okay, so I definitely would say that's the first step, and that doesn't necessarily need to be like a teacher or a counselor. It's great if it is, but it's really awesome if it's also somebody like outside of your community who can more kind of guide you in personal and business more relations, because they become intertwined when you're an entrepreneur. So if you see on the right hand side, I'm going to stand over here so that I can go in order. But when I first started working in the entertainment industry, what really kind of launched me is I was Googling different magazines and online websites to try and pitch for them and write for them. Do you guys know what a pitch is? Yeah, okay, you guys are smart. So basically I would find somebody's email online and email them and ask if I could just start writing for them. And then I got myself bylines in like Huffington Post, 17, Parade Magazine, and that's when I really thought I wanted to be a writer. And that's pretty unusual because I was 14 at the time, so I had obviously some of these really like quite big articles that I was writing, and I loved it, but there really wasn't any pay with that. So as much greatness as freelance writing comes, and you have huge, your names in all these big platforms, you're not really getting any money. So really important thing is to try and figure out how to make side money, whether or not you want to be an entrepreneur, but how to make money on the side of doing whatever you love. So even if you're working a corporate job or that's your goal, there's so many different ways to make money on the side that can even just be like for buying a camera or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be to go towards your business, but a few of the ways that I did that obviously went back into my business, because from the get-go, whether you're running a blog or you're starting a stock company, being an entrepreneur is really expensive, and there's a lot of financial things that a lot of high schools and middle schools obviously don't teach you that are important to realize. So a few things that I did is I made pages on Craigslist, Upwork, and Fiverr. I don't know if you guys know of any of those, but they're like freelance sites where you can kind of submit work. So you could, if any of you guys like to write or design or even post on Instagram, there's a website, two of them. One's called Upwork and one's called Fiverr. And what you do is you go on there and you make a profile, and then you can like list what your work is and then get paid hourly, and people are always looking for it. So that's a really great way to do it, as well as Fiverr. And then there's all these different things too, we'll talk about in a little bit further into the talk, which is how I started making money from the beginning. And then I talk to so many entrepreneurs who get so frustrated that they haven't been able to make that side hustle or whatever your idea is into your full-time job. And I go back to the beginning, and I think if you are in something and it's not for the money, that's when you're going to be successful, but you have to be so willing to put in so much time. And especially when you're in school, like I think the excuse that you don't have enough time is so common, and it's an excuse I say all the time, even though I run my own company. But if you don't think you have the time, then you haven't made the time, which in my opinion means you're not that invested. So if you find that idea, you like know when you have that idea, and it kind of just consumes you, and then you'll find the time. So until then, don't get super frustrated if you haven't found that idea, or get really frustrated about your finances and stuff, because you guys are in college and you have so much time to kind of figure out what you want to do and what that idea might be. So I have a podcast, and I also have a show on Radio Disney, which I think I forgot to mention at the beginning. So I BCC'd 466 producers on an email about a year and a half ago, and I got one reply from somebody at Disney, and that's how I ended this show called Fearless Every Day, which goes back to kind of the fearlessness. And on the show, I've interviewed a bunch of different founders, huge celebrities, but one person that I am obsessed with is the founder of this app called Headspace. Do you guys know Headspace? Yeah. So they sponsored me too, and I think Andy is the most incredible person in the world. And he said a quote like during one of our talks that just truly stood out to me. And like he's been on my podcast and the show, and it again just goes and vouches for what happiness comes down to. He left a huge corporate job. He was so unhappy to go, and he traveled around Bali, I think when he was like 40, maybe 39, for like 2 years. And then he came back to America, and that's how he had the idea for Headspace. And I think Headspace now is worth like $2 billion, but this guy is the nicest guy in the entire world. So like that's the kind of entrepreneur you want to be. You don't want to be like a conceited Kim Kardashian who only posts selfies. Like Headspace really truly helps people. So if you're trying to get into entrepreneurship, your idea I think should be something that's trying to change the world. That's what every entrepreneur wants. And even if your idea is based on you, like my brand is based on me, hopefully that message is that you're inspiring people, right? So whatever your brand is, that's what you want it to come down to. So obviously before you have an idea, or when you have that idea, I think making business plans is really great. because I'm more of a brand based on myself, obviously, I never really necessarily made a business plan based towards like a consumer. So obviously the friends that I have who have brands like, I don't know, there's a soft brand that a few of my friends started, and just big other companies, even like Headspace, that business plan is really crucial because it defines everything you need to have in your company. But even if you don't have that idea yet, you can still write a business plan, like the same as a resume or a LinkedIn. And if you don't have anything to put in it, then just get completely out of the box. Like most entrepreneurs have ideas just by living. So for example, once you write that business plan, so this is the one that I found online that I liked. And even if you just have your wildest dreams, like you know you want this kind of car and this kind of house, and you put that in a business plan and you think, okay, maybe you'll start like, I don't know, a chair company or a furniture company. And then you might be walking down the street like 2 days later and realize like, oh my gosh, there's a really cool chair, and you're like, that's the idea, whatever. So this kind of business plan is very simple and gets right to the point. And this is a great one that I love because obviously as your company progresses, there's great things about having a business plan with like 600 pages in them, but this is also just really simple to the point. And since a lot of you guys don't necessarily have full-on companies yet, this is great. So does anyone who has an idea, like how would any of you guys answer this? Like, let's see, like success. The project will be successful when it achieves these metrics, number of customers. So are all of you guys who raised your hands, any of you have brands or want to have brands that would be more like consumer based? So like shoe brand or clothing brand? Yeah. How would you answer it? Like just dreams, obviously.
Number of customers?
Yeah.
I would say like 10,000.
Okay, like right when you start your company, or what would that timeline
Within
be?
like the first 2 years.
Okay, that's a good number. Anyone else? That's good, and obviously there's no way to like say 1,000% you get 10,000 customers. You might get 100,000 customers. But if you're going into it with that kind of ballpark idea, I think that the best thing you can do is think outside the box. And so many people, especially young people, are so afraid to think of these kind of ideas and how they can come to life because you never really know. But if I had not started and kept writing on this website, I would have had no clue. So the more you can think outside the box realistically with those ideas, the more successful you will become. So social media is a huge, huge area right now that I even find myself struggling with because I didn't grow up really with social media in 2011. This was not a career. Like I never intended to become a blogger. So I assume all of you guys have Instagram pages. Yeah, and are most of them like public, private? Private? Public? Yeah, you too? No? Yeah. So it depends, and obviously if you're more of like a personal person, then you can have like a personal page. Like I have a business page, like 4 Instagram pages actually. You have a business page, and you can have a page for your friends, and then I have 2 for the 2 other companies that I have under mine. But that main page is crucial. So a lot of entrepreneurs who I talk to say that, and especially like show of hands at different conferences and whatnot that I've spoken at, they always say like, okay, you have an idea, but you're not getting so many followers. So there's little things that you can do, but I also think it's really important to realize that social media is not everything. Like, if social media went away tomorrow, I would still have a company. That term influencer, you guys all probably know that term, yeah? Is now like my least favorite term because I think anyone with 100 followers can say that they're an influencer, and I'm not super sure I know what they're influencing, but like maybe that person has like a ton of interaction, but at the end of the day, like you want to be a company off of the internet. So if you're relying only on Instagram or social media to sell yourself and to sell your brand, I would try and tone it back a little bit and try and focus on other areas. Like get back to where you had like guerrilla marketing. So I had times, I remember when I was first kind of starting up, I guess before I became successful, where I would go to Target and I would ask parents if they had kids, they thought I was crazy. And I would literally force my business card into their hand and was like, go on my website if your kid is on social media and just seriously confused and needs help with mental health. And I would do that to so many different people at Target, and it took hours. And obviously, it's hard for me to kind of track how many page viewers I got that day, but at the end of the day, that's more effective because that's so much more personal than social media. But obviously, there's a few things here that you can do if you are really trying to build or grow your social media. Like, there's pods you can get in. Some of you guys, like probably mostly girls, have heard of those, where it's like you can get in a pod with a bunch of other people, and you have to. Do any of you guys know what that is? No? Okay. So pods are basically, I don't really like them, but they're when like a group of people people, usually females, will get in a pod, and it's an Instagram kind of DM. And the algorithm of Instagram changes so often, so what you have to do is you have to be like the first like and the first comment on your picture to get the picture on the top of the page. It's something ridiculous like that. So if you're in this pod, you're basically expected to be on your phone all the time. So every time somebody in your thing posts a new picture, your algorithm will boost you to the top of the page. And like scientifically, it works. So it's really effective if you are trying to really grow your social media following, to like find a group of girls and this, or guys, whatever. And this is great in a sense, even if you're not necessarily trying to build a brand, like even if you just want more Instagram followers to whatever reason. So that like it kind of shifts the algorithm. So that's an idea. And then there's also these social media robots. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of them, but there's things you can pay a certain amount of money to a month, like $25, and they'll like and comment on other people's pictures, and with the intention of obviously getting you more followers. And they also work too, but I think it's like $25. So I know a lot of businesses who will do both of that, and it does kind of, the thing about social media is it's really just like BS. It's a lot of just like bullshit stuff that's a waste of time. So if you can minimize the time when you're an entrepreneur to put the time and energy into things that actually matter, which is building the company, then something like social media, you could easily have somebody kind of control for even $25 a month. And then obviously when it comes to marketing, for those of you who have ideas, this might be a little bit more helpful for you, but this is just a graph that I found online that I thought was really great because it cut up, in a sense, the importance of what really matters with your company. So raise of hands, who kind of which would you choose that you think would be the most important, ignoring the statistics, for any company that you want to build? Like hiring top talent, or managing a website, generating traffic. Anyone? Yeah?
I think the budget's the most important.
Okay. Any reason why?
Because you get as many customers in the world, but like if you don't have proper financial, it's still not good.
Yeah? Anyone else want to try? Okay, that was a very good answer, because there's a lot of companies out there that have gone bankrupt. Like if any of you guys know of Nasty Gal, like the company, and she went bankrupt and she wrote a whole book on it. She obviously had a show, Sophia, based on the company that she had, but obviously what she did wrong is they didn't budget their money. So Nasty Gal is a really good example of a company to look into, because they grew so fast and so unexpectedly. The background of it is this woman who basically had this idea to sell vintage clothing in her garage. And then the company ended up blowing up and becoming this like mega billion-dollar company. She was all over the internet. And then the company just went bankrupt, and obviously they couldn't keep up with companies that were competing with them, like Revolve Clothing, Shopbop, and now the company went bankrupt, and she sold it to somebody else. And it's actually kind of similar too with Theranos. If you guys have heard about Elizabeth Holmes, the Netflix documentary, you should look into that company too. She was a scam artist, but at the end of the day, the company went bankrupt, and there was a lot of reasons why that company went bankrupt. So you're right, if you're not tracking your finances, regardless of whether your brand's a brand like mine that's based on myself, or whether your brand is a consumer brand, that's important. And then I would also say, obviously, I do think aesthetically it's very crucial that, especially in 2019, that whatever your website is, whatever your social media is, that there is a pattern towards it. It's quite common. I think it's like 99 or maybe 97.5% of people that would go onto a website is like first impressions. So if you're looking for even somebody to cut your hair, like maybe any of you guys want to be in like the beauty industry and run your own makeup company, that website is important. So taking the money that you might put into, say, social media ads or Facebook ads, which also don't really work, and putting that into a really awesome website or a really awesome logo, that's where you're going to get more of a return on your investment. And this is just the two pictures from the companies that I was talking about beforehand at the beginning of the talk. These are the two that I found were really great when I was like starting up and just needed to make extra money. So look into these two if you want to make extra money and you have even a skill, like you know how to like write a paragraph or make a cool graphic. It's really easy. So this now goes a little bit more into something that's more specific when you have that idea, which is a media kit versus a one sheet. Can anyone tell me maybe what their idea for what the difference between each would be? Like what a whole media kit would be and then what would be in a one sheet? And this is the front page of mine, but not the entire one. Anyone? Okay, I'll explain it. So a media kit is basically, this is the one sheet now for my Disney show. So the difference between a media kit and a one sheet is a media kit's a little bit more of an advanced platform, similar to a business plan. It's kind of like putting a business plan, but once the business is already done, in a PDF, in a whole Word document. So this is the same one. For those of you who want to work corporate jobs and maybe don't want to be entrepreneurs or think you need to work a corporate job before you become an entrepreneur, this is like if you have nothing to put in your LinkedIn bio or in your resume, this is a great thing to make. So I encourage every person to make a one sheet on themselves, that profile where you're going to try and apply for jobs. If you sit down with a notebook, which might be to some people a waste of time, it's not a waste of time. People have actually come back to me and said they did this and it really helped. And you write down what you think you're good at, and you can literally be, you don't have to be good at anything. Like, you could be good at washing toilets, that's something you might be good at. You can be good at going on a run, and you write all of that down in one sheet. That is so important, and that will help you then create your business idea that you might have, and you'll know what to put in a one sheet. So obviously I only have one show on Disney, so that's why this is one sheet. So this just lists, and this was made by somebody else, but this just lists all about me and the show and like guests we've had on. This is an older one from last year, and it's one paragraph. But that one paragraph is crucial because when somebody reads that first paragraph, that's exactly what they're gonna know about your companies or yourself. So when you're sitting down and you're writing up that one page or that even kind of synopsis on yourself, just think about what you're good at and how to make it. Sometimes you can fake it till you make it a little bit, so you can kind of not lie, but you can say certain things that maybe might make it seem like that internship you had with your friend's family 5 years ago was a year ago, something like that, unless you really think that they're going to contact that person, but something like that, it's not going to kill you. And at the end of the day, you're competing with certain people who are your age in other cities who might have advantages. So whatever you can do in that resume or that LinkedIn profile to escalate yourself to be in front of somebody who might have very similar criteria to you is important. And then the media kit, this is only the first page of it, but this is something that I had specifically designed, so that's really important, and that just goes into everything. So the first page is about me, the second page is like blog and social media statistics, the third page is like TV segments that I've done, and then what I charge for things, so what I charge for a TV segment or a sponsored post. And then it also talks more and is really personal, but also in a way that is directed to the point because, and I think it's 2 slides from now, that's what I think is so important about pitching. And I know you guys said you know about pitching, but there's so many ways to kind of reduce the amount of time that you spend on certain things. And especially when you're trying to get that dream job or land that really cool internship, then you want to reduce the amount of time that somebody else is going to be invested in you when they're debating about it, because you want there to be no debate. So when you're writing a pitch, for example, if you guys, any of you guys want to be bloggers or influencers, if that's what you want to do, or something similar in the entertainment industry, when I first started, I was pitching so many different magazines, even if you want to be a writer. And I was pitching it so wrong, and obviously I was 14 when I was reaching out to a lot of these different companies, but there are certain ways that you actually should formulate something called a pitch. And even if you want to, like, maybe you guys have 700 Instagram followers and you think it'd be really cool to like get a free top and you want to email a brand, so this is the way to do it, and that one sheet in that media kit will also really help with that. I know I already explained the difference, so this kind of just goes back into it. But this is really the correct way to pitch, and then also an elevator pitch. Do you guys know what that is? Yeah, so that's obviously known about through like mostly Shark Tank, I feel like, and then just entrepreneurship in general. And that goes back, it all goes back to that idea of that notebook. So if you have a notebook, if you have somewhere you can sit and list what you're good at or what your specific ideas are, that will help you have that elevator pitch. Because quite often, even before I was successful in this industry, I would be in elevators with so many different people and I wouldn't know how to introduce myself to them. So if you sit down and tailor what you think you're good at, you want to be the 1% who's in an elevator with Mark Cuban and knows exactly what to say. Because there's a lot of people you're going to be in elevators with, you guys, and you don't want to be the person who's the 99%. You want to be the 1% who goes up to the person that you really want to work for and knows exactly what to say to them. So the correct way to write a pitch is obviously, and in general, I think when you're emailing anybody or you want to get anybody to reply to your email or give you advice, is to really be right to the point. I get so many emails with so many paragraphs in them, and even then, it's when you have so many things to read, like every person is so busy. So a long email is much easier if it's just like minimizing it to like 5 sentences, and then the last sentence I can read and understand like what you're trying to get out of you contacting me, if that makes sense. And it's the same if somebody were to email you. Nobody wants a 9-page essay on like why they deserve to work for you or why you deserve to work for them. You want to know really what to the point. And entrepreneurship and the business world in general is not a nice industry to work in. People are not nice. So if you do that where you write very long emails, you will probably not get the response you want in the amount of time that you want. My friends went to a talk a few weeks ago at NYU, and Mark Cuban spoke, and he gives out his email, and he says he still reads the first sentence of every email. So it's the same thing. It's like, what would you say to somebody that's one sentence when you're in an elevator with them? And then if you have that one sheet of that media kit, it's similar to the resume or to the LinkedIn profile. You can always attach that directly to an email or to a sheet, and that again minimizes it because it's telling people right there, here's what I'm all about, like here's what I charge. For me, that's really important, that media kit. So it's not even like, oh, what do you charge? Like it says it right there. So therefore, I don't have to even question. You always want to make your worth very apparent, even if you're still first starting out. And then this says pretty much the same thing. A little bit different about the pitching and about like the elevator pitch is that keeping in mind how important it is that you showcase what you can bring to the table. And if you don't know, if you haven't found that purpose yet, you guys are so young, so you probably don't know necessarily what you want to do specifically for a living, but all you have to do is just get out there and explore. Like I like to say, you can do something, or even maybe doing something like emailing somebody that you've never emailed before, like that might be what you want to do for that week that gets you out of your comfort zone, and it's really easy to do that. So by doing that, you'll come closer to kind of finding that purpose, and then you'll know what your business or your brand might be, or even what you'd say to somebody that you think is really important that might be able to help you with your career. And then this just goes into pitching, selling, and networking. So obviously the pitching thing is the same, but selling and networking, I think I bring back a little bit more to social media too. That obviously you guys are older, so you probably know that what you put on social media or what you put on that website is important. People do look at it, and I had many situations with many different ideas that I pitched where maybe I posted something on social media that was not appropriate for that opportunity, and it's like right then that you will be told no. Like I have, you just make a lot of mistakes sometimes, and the things you learn by making those mistakes, but when you're trying to work for a more corporate company, which I've learned a little bit sometimes the hard way, is that you have to be very careful with what you post online. So when you're posting, if your Instagram's private and it's just for your friends, that's one thing, but if you're posting something on a public social media, like if you were in an elevator, you emailed somebody that you wanted a job for, and the first thing they went onto your page and saw was like you at a frat party, like, okay, that's okay, but also like, is that what you want somebody to see? Like, I don't know, if I was hiring somebody and that's the first thing I saw with like a solo cup in their hand, I'd be like, like maybe I'm gonna go to the next candidate. And the thing is, again, you always wanna be that 1%, so just be really smart and mindful when it comes to building whatever your company is or trying to get a corporate job, to always like think about that. You guys don't have to go and like delete your whole social medias now if that's what it is, but I'm just saying like going forward to keep that in mind. And then obviously networking is huge. I know you guys are still in college, but there's a lot of different ways. Even when I was younger, I think that's how I managed to make this into a living, is by networking so often. There's no fear you should ever have in going up to somebody and either asking for advice or asking for something that you think you can help them with. You always have to twist it. So instead of being like, I want you to give me a job, it's more so like, what can you do to help them? And before you get into your company, that's really important to do, because you're still gonna need somebody, you want somebody to be that first customer besides your friends and family. So that person that you'll probably work for before you start your company might be that person. And then business cards are also really important. Like I said at the beginning, guerrilla marketing is, I think it's still really important. It's much more personal. So by creating business cards and handing them out to everybody, and if you don't have an idea, you can literally just write on it student or writer or social marketer. You don't have to have some huge company to have a business card. Anyone who's even young, under the age of like 21, like it's perfect for you to have a business card too, because again, you never know when you're gonna need it. And then so this is the first pitch that I wrote to a fashion show. I wrote one similar to when I first started getting sponsored by British Airways. I emailed them when I was 14 and somehow got them sending me to London. Even to this day, twice a year, they sponsored no other people, and it was a pitch similar to this. I don't know how. I think the woman initially felt bad for me. Now I can't use that as an excuse, but at the beginning, when I would write such terrible emails like this, I think people really just felt like so bad for me. Like, gosh, this girl's like really like desperate. So what would you guys read out of this email and say that I did wrong? This was to BCBG, and that was like one of the first shows that I started going to. This was in January 11th, 2012.
Too long.
Okay. It's true. I think it's 5 sentences, but there's a lot of run-ons. Anything else?
It's wordy. Not
Yeah.
to the point.
True. I didn't even say hi. Like, hello. I was a little too direct. I think that would be in a bad way though, maybe. Anything else? So obviously I can't be mad that I wrote this. Like, I gave myself some street cred, and I ended up getting invited to the show and the sponsorship, so that's cool. But this would have been so much better if I had simply introduced myself the first sentence. I always like to make the other person feel really nice. So now if I want to work with a brand, like I mean it's very easy to know in person if you're being authentic. Behind the internet, obviously behind a screen it's a little bit harder, but it's very important to like make the other person seem nice. So I should have been like, I'm a huge fan of the brand. I didn't really mention the brand in that, so that's obviously a big thing. And then just besides that, I didn't really say what I would give them in return. So that's what it comes down to. The business industry, always what you can give somebody in return. So if you have an idea, I keep using the sock company because one of my friends started a really successful sock company. But like socks, obviously everyone needs socks. So he started this crazy successful company that went on Shark Tank. And everyone needs socks. So right there, like that's how he's helping people. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, even if you make business cards and you write on them like writer or marketing, whatever, that's gonna help somebody because somebody needs a writer or somebody needs somebody to market for them, whatever. So putting that in the pitch is obviously very important. And then, putting a signature at the end. I think sometimes nowadays, like I think there's a lot of emails that are just ended the same way, like, don't hear back from you, or like, thank you so much. And I just feel like there's a little bit more of like a personal way to do it. So I always say like, looking forward to hearing from you, or I say speak soon, because if somebody, like you don't even know somebody and then they don't reply, like you said that right there, like I'm gonna hear back from you. So then if you follow up, you can be like, hey, I didn't hear from you, because you said you would hear from them. And then this is how I even found those contacts. So it's obviously quite unusual that at that age with 700 Instagram followers I got such big sponsorships. But this is some ways that I did it. And a lot of people have no clue that this is like really cuts to the point when it comes to like pitching and finding people. But if you're looking to be in the entertainment industry or even business, or have a company that you want to kind of share and showcase an idea to, this is what I highly suggest doing. So finding a press release is huge. So even now when I work with like T-Mobile or any brand, there's always a press release which has the person. So that's the person you're going to want to reach out to. And obviously quite often you would think, oh, if you want to work at a company, you should reach out to the person in PR. But the thing is, how I think of it is, say you do want to work for a company, everyone's going to the person who's the head of HR or hiring to hire, right? So what you could do that's different, again, being that 1%, is you could find that press person who you know is going to say, I'm not the right person, but you can say directly, and I've proved, like I've tested this theory so many times, is once they introduce you on an email to somebody else, that email, because it's from somebody they know, will go right to the top of their inbox. So instead of you being one of the 100 people that are applying for a job, if you reach out to one of the other like recruiters or people in a different department and ask for an introduction, usually, and your initial email is good enough, usually that would be a way to get you in the door, and you don't have to go maybe the normal route of like using LinkedIn or whatever to apply for a job. And then every major company usually also has the same format. So my email at Disney is alexa.curtis@disney.com. And like even at 17 and Teen Vogue and Condé Nast, it's all first name underscore last name at condenast.com. So if you want to work for a magazine, then you go on LinkedIn and you type in maybe the editor's name, and then it'll tell you who is similar to her, and right there you've got the email that a lot of people probably don't know the email to. How many of you guys have LinkedIn? Oh, so most of you. Okay, I think LinkedIn's great. I've recently started using it a lot. I don't know why, but I just noticed like it's like 3,000 followers on it, which is really weird because I didn't think that it was like a thing. But LinkedIn's really great. So there's a part of LinkedIn called Premium, and on LinkedIn Premium, what you can do is you can, I think it's maybe $30 a month. You can track who looks at your profile, which is slightly creepy because I always have such weird people looking at my profile, so I think it's worth $30 for that. But you can also directly message somebody, so that's the best part about it is if you're paying that $30, sure, that's a financial investment, and you might have to go and make a profile on one of those sites and do some side work to make that $30 back a month. But you're able to directly message anybody who you want to work for or who you come across that you think might be valuable. Yeah?
Yeah, I'm a big LinkedIn fan and been using it for years, and probably have about 8,000.
Oh my gosh!
And the premium is worth it. I have, I only have 8,000 friends that, I use that word in a traditional sense, but I have a lot of contacts, and you never know when you're going to meet these folks, and to be able to instant message them from LinkedIn, because you may not have their email addresses, is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, and also you can be so personal on it. So I started posting, like a lot more quotes and stuff. Like Ariana Huffington is somebody who I follow on LinkedIn that I think has such great content. And it's different because it's not like on Instagram. Everyone has so much content on Instagram, right? So even if you want to start a brand or be an influencer or start whatever company, everyone's always posting on Instagram. So it's so easy to just swipe by. But on LinkedIn, you're not really thinking of LinkedIn as something that you just like scroll through. The people who are on that platform are the ones who really might become your key people that buy from your company and want to help your company succeed or your idea succeed. So using LinkedIn is really great, and messaging those people directly. Again, when you think about it, you're behind a computer screen. So look how much stuff I've done in my life by literally emailing somebody, because people would think, oh no, I'm not going to email so-and-so, they're not going to reply. 90% of the time they won't reply, but there's that 10% of the time that maybe once a year, for me it was like once a year when I first started, and they will reply, and those are the people that you want to reply, and it's worth holding out for. So using LinkedIn Premium I think is great, and if you don't want to spend that money, then you can also just have the regular one. And again, now that you know you can find the press release, if you're looking to email somebody and you can't find that email.
I just finished the talk and it went so good. It's so cool. It was up on this screen. Now I have one more talk, so I've got a little bit of time for lunch. So I'm gonna head out there. I'm gonna show you guys. This is the whole auditorium. My hair looks so bouncy up in here. And then this is the outside. Wow. And this is out here, the boyfriend, the view. I am back just before it got dark out, and that was an awesome day. I know a little bit of the video cut out because the phone dropped and the camera like shut off because it was taking so long. And the second talk was pretty good too. We just mentored some people, which is awesome. Well, we as in me, because I love the one-on-one so much. I think that's like the best part of my job is having that one-on-one connection. And sometimes huge talks are great, but also you don't necessarily get a lot from a huge talk all the time, because it's so much better when you get to talk with somebody one-on-one. So thank you everyone who came. I loved meeting all of you guys. I'm speaking at USC on April 24th, I believe, so head to the bio below to check that out. Again, thank you for coming. Thanks for the support. Subscribe if you haven't. My Instagram and social media will be below too, so you can check that out. And I'll see you guys back in LA next week. Happy Friday. Bye.